Okay, let's talk about the team up. Okay, episode 30 to the 10th power. Like, man, Lost Galaxy had one of the best Power Ranger team ups ever. So you remember that the Psycho Rangers were turned into data cards? Well, Deviant gets his hands on these data cards and he restores the Psycho Rangers to their full power and unleashes them on the Galaxy Rangers. So yeah, 4 out of 5 Rangers are captured. Only Leo remains uncaptured because when Psycho Red went after him, somebody showed up to save the day. And it was Andros. Because Andros has apparently been tracking these data cards. So it led him to Terra Venture, and now he's helping out. So there's this one scene where Andros is in the Astro mega ship, and he's talking with Alpha 6 again, and and then they're trying to figure out a way to save the other Rangers because they located them in some warehouse in Terra Venture. And then he goes into this like closed off room in the ship, and then he gets his morpher, and then you see the other Space Rangers morphers are there too, except Zane's. So it's like, why were there morphers in this random room? Like, why would they give up their powers and just leave them in this ship to go on Terra Venture? Like, what? I always thought that was stupid. Like, just keep your powers. Why would you even leave them there? And why wasn't Zane's morpher in there? Why is it just the 5 of them? Like, I don't really... And if Andros is still going on these Ranger-like missions, chasing after data cards and crap, wouldn't he need his morpher? Like, I never liked that. Despite that, this team-up was freaking awesome. And the action in it is some of the best action ever in Power Rangers. Like, Lost Galaxy had a lot of great original fight scenes. Like, damn! So, yeah. Andros and Leo eventually save the other Rangers, and then the other Space Rangers, minus Zane, show up, and they all fight the Psycho Rangers together. See, this is why I say that the Psycho Rangers were the greatest threat that any Power Ranger team had faced, because it took 2 Ranger teams to take them out. At the end, the combined power of the 2 Ranger teams destroyed all the Psycho Rangers, except Psycho Pink. But before I get to the next episode, so at the end of episode 30, like, we have all both the Ranger teams, laughing and talking it up. And then, like, one of the Galaxy Rangers asks if the Space Rangers, could stay a while. And then they say, we can't stay too long. We're needed back on Earth. Why? Like, I mean, I don't really understand what they're needed back on Earth so much for. I mean, is it a family reason? It couldn't be to protect the planet because you didn't have your powers until, like, 10 seconds ago. So, I mean, Andros, maybe he could be useful on Earth because of his knowledge of alien technology, but the other 4, how much use is 4 powerless Power Rangers going to be? I'm just saying, I'm just keeping it real. I mean, I heard like a fan theory once that said that maybe the Space Rangers helped develop the light speed rescue powers. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, if the Turbo Rangers could make their own powers, I mean, I guess, whatever. So yeah, episode 31, The Power of Pink. Psycho Pink is still alive, right? And she goes on this planet to get the Savage Sword, which would make her invincible. And the 2 Pink Rangers go to fight her and stop her, and they get their asses kicked. And then at one point, Cassie is knocked, unmorphed, and her morpher is just left on the floor. And Psycho Pink plunges the Savage Sword inside the morpher, and she sucks up all the power from that morpher, and all the power from it also starts like shooting out into the sky. It's like this big old energy vortex, and like all this energy is like shooting out of the planet, and it's even starting to like fuck up Terra Venture and stuff. It was incredible, and the power was making Psycho Pink stronger as well, and she turned into a monster form, and then she went giant size. So the Space Rangers and the Galaxy Rangers showed up in their Megazords to fight. Yes. Like, this was original Megazord footage too. It was the Galaxy Megazord. It showed up to fight with the Astro Megazord, man. Like, that was freaking awesome. So I take it that the other Space Rangers got the Terra Venture using that shuttle to make the Astro Megaship. I'm guessing. That would be kind of cool though, but whatever. Fan-wanky. So yeah, both those Zords are fighting Psycho Pink. Meanwhile, Cassie is being hurt because I guess that the Space Rangers are connected to their morphers. So as long as Psycho Pink is draining the power out of their morpher, Cassie is pretty much dying inside. So she's like screaming and crying out in pain. So Kendrix feels that she has to do something. So she goes towards the energy vortex, and then she destroys the Savage Sword with her Quasar saber, and then there's this big old explosion, and Kendrix is destroyed, basically. first time that we ever saw a Power Ranger die. It's shocking to say the least. Like, I mean, whoa. I mean, I remember the first time I watched it, I didn't even think she died at first. It wasn't until her ghost showed up that I was like, what? Because, like, Rangers are caught into explosions all the time. That's literally all they do. They get caught in explosions. So I didn't really think that she died. I was waiting for her to show up, but then her ghost showed up, and I was just, what? Like, it was just shocking to say the least, you know. And she just said, I'm okay. And then she disappeared, and then her Quasar saber just floated away in the sky. You know, it was just, wow. And at the end, you know, the Space Rangers were wishing the Galaxy Rangers well. They were like, we'll never forget what happened here. And, you know, and then they all left. And that was it. And the other Rangers were like, well, what are we going to do now? So now we're on episode 32, Protect the Quasar Saber. I'm just going to say this right now. This episode is my favorite episode in all of Power Rangers. Like, I just love this episode, okay? I love this episode. It's just, oh man. Alright, so in it, in Maya's dream, in Maya's dream, Kendrix's spirit comes to her and tells her that her Quasar Saber has ended up on, I think, the planet Rashon or something, so that the Maya and the other Rangers need to hurry up and get it. And Kendrix says, like, don't worry about me, I'm in a wonderful place. So, yeah, still kind of sad and whatever. So, yeah, Maya and the other Rangers, you know, minus Mike, go to this planet Rashon. And really, I just noticed that this year that Mike wasn't in this episode. Like, I always thought that Mike was an okay character, but when you don't even notice that he's not in the episode for years, you know he wasn't that damn important. Like, really, the original Magna Fender was way better. But whatever. Anyway, the other Rangers go rushing to this planet, and, you know, meanwhile, our villains, you know, realize, like, where the Rangers are going. So that scene where the Rangers end up on planet Rashon and they're talking to the guy who had got the pink Quasar Saber, that scene, man, I love it. I love it for how angry the Rangers were and how much they were threatening this man to tell them where the pink Quasar Saber was. Like, I just think they were angry because they were still angry over Kendrix's death, and they really didn't have time to be playing with this man. The Rangers asked the guy, like, where's the Quasar Saber? And he's like, information like that is gonna cost you dearly. Leo whipped his sword out so fast, he was like, not as much as it's gonna cost if you don't tell us. Get my point? That was just so badass for me, man. So yeah, eventually this guy tells him, like, I sold it to a guy and then they're on this, like, other random planet. And then the rest like, it better be. And then they, like, head off. And then it turns out this guy was actually Deviant in the skies. And the real person who lives there was Deviant had tied up in another room. And then he's like, you better tell me what a Quasar Saber really is. And the guy was like, it's on Onyx. You know, of course it's on Onyx. So yeah, meanwhile on Onyx, like, the sword is being auctioned off to, like, the highest bidder. And it turns out the highest bidder is Astronomer. Yes, Astronomer. But if you've seen In Space and you know that Astronomer isn't Astronomer anymore, it's Karone. And Trakina showed up, and she knew it. She's like, you're not Astronomer. Astronomer betrayed the darkness and became good. You are Karone, you know. And then they had this brief fight between Karone and Villamax, and she managed to get out of there with the Quasar Saber. And then she goes to that random planet that Deviant sent the other Rangers, and she saves them from Deviant's trap. And then there's this big old fight between the Rangers and Trakina's forces and Karone. Like, it was just awesome, man. Like, that fight between Karone and Trakina, I loved it. And I love how Trakina was acting. She was acting like she had something to prove to Karone. Because, you know, Karone used to be the Princess of Evil, and now Trakina is, like, the Queen of Evil. So she had, like, a couple lines like, the mighty Astronomer, phooey. You know, when she beat Karone's ass. In the fight, she beat Karone, took the pink Quasar Saber, and then kicked her off a ledge on a mountain. And, you know, Karone was hanging on for life, and then, like, she couldn't hang on anymore, and she fell, and then the ghost of Kendrix saved her. Like, damn, Kendrix just doesn't rest at all in heaven. She had to keep coming back and saving these fools and giving them information. But yeah, she saved Karone, and then she gave Karone her morpher, and then Karone took back the Quasar Saber from Trakina, and she became the new Pink Ranger. And really, this whole thing is just awesome. Like, Karone finally became a Power Ranger. I mean, if you remember back in Space, like they said that it was both Andros and Karone's dream to become Power Rangers when they were kids. So, you know, her dream is finally coming true. And it's finally redemption for Karone. Like, she was once the Princess of Evil, and now she's redeeming herself by being the ultimate force of good, a Power Ranger. So, the Rangers saved the day, and they got a new teammate. Episode 33, Facing the Past, was also a brilliant episode. In it, like, this monster drains all of the Rangers' powers, I think, except for Karone's, and then is hunting most of the Rangers down on Terra Venture. And then Karone leads Leo to this other planet to get this mysterious power source, and the power source is basically his battleizer. Like, it's great. Oh, and in this episode, Karone fights a magical clone of Astronomer. She fights a magical clone of Astronomer. Like, that shit was awesome, man. Once evil, always evil. Alright, now we're getting to the Lost Galaxy arc of Power Rangers. Ooh. Okay, so that's episode 35, Into the Lost Galaxy. In it, a mysterious man shows up on Terra Venture, and he tries to steal the Galaxy book, but he's arrested by GSA. But he manages to convince Kai that he is the guardian of the book, and he's trying to take the book away because that book is dangerous and it shouldn't be experimented on in any way, because GSA were experimenting on it and they were starting to read this dangerous ass spell from it. So yeah, Kai believes him and he sneaks the guy like out of the jail cell, and then he steals the Galaxy book, and when he was going to bring the Galaxy book to the guardian, he's attacked by Deviant. Somehow Deviant knew he had that book, but whatever, that's not the point. The point is they had a pretty good fight, and then the Guardian shows up himself to fight Deviant, and he kicks Deviant's ass briefly, but then he starts to get weak because he can't survive on Terra Venture's atmosphere, and then Deviant takes this opportunity to kill the Guardian. Like, seriously, Lost Galaxy is like the season of death, man. So many characters just die. They die, and like the Guardian, he was a human looking character. He was an alien, but he was a human looking character, and he died. Kendrix died. Loyax was a monster, but you cared about him, and he died. Scorpius, I cared about him because honestly I feel that Scorpius is an underrated villain. Like, most people didn't care about him, but I liked him, you know. I liked his attitude and how evil he could be. And he was a parent. He was the father of a daughter, and then he died. So I felt something. It's just, the Magna Defender died. So it's like, this season is just a season of death. The Grim Reaper wrote this shit. The Guardian died, and he charged Kai with being the Guardian now, I guess. Like, you must guard the book now. And he also gave Kai these, like, upgraded Quasar launchers, like, special cannon weapons for the Power Rangers to fight Deviant. But yeah, Deviant got his hands on the Galaxy book, and then he read the Keonta spell. And then after he read the spell, it gave him like extra powers, and he was kicking the Rangers' asses. But then they used these new Quasar launchers, and then that beat him briefly. And then he turned into a, you know, a giant, and then the Rangers beat him again in their Zords. But after that, you know, the damage from the Keonta spell had been done. It didn't just make Deviant powerful. It also took all the Terra Venture into the Lost Galaxy.